In this episode, we focus on a part of cloud security that often becomes risky not because teams want it to be risky, but because teams need it to work under pressure: remote administrative access. Administrative access is the ability to manage systems, change configurations, troubleshoot issues, and respond to incidents. And in cloud environments, it is often performed from many locations rather than from a single on-premises office network. The danger is that the paths used for administration can become durable attack surfaces, meaning they remain exposed, reachable, and attractive to attackers long after the original operational need has passed. If you leave an admin path open broadly, even with good intentions, attackers can probe it endlessly, try credential abuse, and wait for a mistake or a weak moment. Hardening remote administrative access means designing it so it is still usable for operations, but it is narrow, controlled, monitored, and resistant to common attacker tactics. The beginner goal is to understand what makes admin access uniquely sensitive, what durable attack surfaces look like, and how to build safer patterns that do not rely on perfect human behavior. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Start by separating administrative access from normal user or application access, because they have very different consequences. Normal access might allow a user to view data or an application to read and write within a narrow scope, but administrative access can often change permissions, disable controls, create new identities, and modify network exposure. That means an attacker who obtains administrative access can often expand their reach quickly, hide their activity, and cause long-lasting damage. Administrative actions also tend to be high impact even when performed by legitimate staff, because a single mistake can change exposure posture or break a service. This is why admin access deserves stronger constraints than standard access, and why you want the administrative path to be as small and as well-defined as possible. A durable attack surface appears when administrative interfaces, ports, or management endpoints are reachable from too many places, especially the public internet. The smaller your admin surface, the fewer opportunities attackers have, and the easier it is to detect when something unusual occurs. One way to understand durable attack surfaces is to think about what an attacker can repeatedly test without needing inside knowledge. If an administrative interface is reachable publicly, an attacker can scan for it, fingerprint it, and attempt login repeatedly, even if they cannot get in right away. If the interface has any weakness, such as weak authentication, misconfigured access controls, or exploitable software, the attacker has unlimited time to try. Even if the interface is secure today, future changes, forgotten accounts, or newly discovered vulnerabilities can turn that exposure into a breach later. Durability is what makes the risk persistent, because the exposure does not go away when the project ends or when the admin task is complete. Beginners sometimes assume that if strong authentication exists, public reachability is fine, but reachability still matters because it increases the number of attempts and increases the chance that a weakness will be found. Hardening means you reduce both the likelihood of compromise and the number of attempts an attacker can make. A core hardening idea is to make administrative access conditional, meaning it is only possible when specific conditions are met, rather than being continuously available. Conditions can include being on a trusted network, coming from a managed device, using a dedicated admin identity, and satisfying strong authentication requirements. The simplest form of this concept is to avoid leaving management interfaces reachable from anywhere at any time. Instead, you create a pattern where administrators enter through a controlled gateway that enforces these conditions and logs activity. This is different from giving every admin direct access to every system from their laptop on any network. Conditional access reduces the chance that stolen credentials alone are enough, because the attacker would also need to meet the other conditions, such as being in the right network scope or using a device that meets policy. This is not about making life difficult. It is about making administrative paths defensible under real attack pressure. In beginner terms, you are building a security checkpoint, not leaving the side door unlocked. Another key pattern is to separate administrative identities from everyday identities, because mixing them creates durable risk. If a person uses the same account for email, browsing, and administration, then any compromise of their daily activities can become an administrative compromise. Administrative identities should be used only for administrative tasks, which reduces exposure to phishing, malicious downloads, and credential theft that often target daily workflows. This separation also helps detection because the expected behavior of an admin identity is different from a normal identity, and anomalies become clearer. It also supports least privilege by letting you scope admin permissions to the specific systems and actions needed, rather than giving a single superuser account that controls everything. Beginners should recognize that identity separation is not just a policy preference. It is a practical way to limit blast radius when something goes wrong. When attackers seek privilege, they often start with a low-privilege foothold and then escalate. So reducing the overlap between daily accounts and privileged accounts slows that path. Network scoping is another essential part of hardening remote admin access, because even the strongest identity controls benefit from fewer reachable paths. If administrative interfaces are reachable only from specific network segments or through private connectivity, attackers on the public internet cannot directly interact with them. This reduces exposure to automated scanning and reduces the risk that a simple misconfiguration becomes an immediate breach. It also reduces noise, which makes it easier to detect meaningful events, like an admin login attempt at an unusual time. Scoping also includes limiting east-west access inside the environment, because if an attacker compromises one workload, you do not want them to automatically reach your management interfaces from that foothold. The goal is a design where administrative access originates from a small, controlled set of locations, such as a dedicated management network or a hardened administrative environment. For beginners, the takeaway is that reachability is a security control, and admin reachability should be narrower than almost anything else. Hardening also involves reducing the number of administrative paths, because multiple paths create complexity, and complexity hides mistakes. If teams use a variety of ad hoc methods to reach systems, such as direct internet access for some resources and private access for others, it becomes harder to audit what is exposed and harder to enforce consistent policy. Attackers benefit from that inconsistency because they only need one weak path. A durable hardening approach encourages standardization, where most admin access uses the same controlled method and exceptions are rare, documented, and time-limited. This standardization is not just about security teams feeling organized. It is about making the environment predictable so you can monitor it effectively. When the admin path is consistent, you can baseline it, you can log it, and you can detect deviations with higher confidence. Beginners should see that the best security is often boring security, where the safe path is the default path and unusual access stands out immediately. Monitoring and logging discipline are especially important for administrative access because admin actions can change the environment in ways that hide future attacks. You want to know when privileged logins happen, from where, and what actions follow those logins. You want to record changes to permissions, creation of new identities, changes to network exposure, and any modification of security-relevant settings. You also want to watch for signals that suggest attempted abuse, such as repeated failed login attempts, unexpected new admin sessions, or access from unusual sources. The reason discipline matters is that admin activity is often lower volume than application traffic, so you can afford to treat it with higher sensitivity. If you ignore admin logs or keep them only briefly, you may not be able to reconstruct what happened after an incident. For beginners, the key point is that privileged actions deserve privileged visibility because they are the actions most likely to determine whether an incident stays small or becomes catastrophic. A subtle but crucial concept is to design administrative access so it can be safely used during emergencies without becoming permanently permissive afterward. Under stress, teams may be tempted to open broad access to fix an outage quickly, and those emergency changes can become durable vulnerabilities if they are not rolled back. A hardened design anticipates emergencies and provides a safe emergency path that is controlled, auditable, and reversible. This might mean having a well-defined break glass process, which is an emergency access approach that is heavily logged and tightly managed, rather than an informal approach where someone simply broadens permissions. The goal is to avoid the pattern where every emergency creates a new permanent hole. Beginners should understand that security failures often happen during urgent moments, not during calm planning sessions. So durable hardening must include an operational plan for urgent access that does not sacrifice long-term safety. It is also important to reduce reliance on long-lived secrets in administrative paths, because durable credentials create durable risk. When a secret like a static key or password lives for a long time, it becomes a valuable target, and it can be stolen and reused long after it was created. Hardening encourages approaches where administrative authentication is strong, regularly refreshed, and tied to identities that can be disabled quickly. Even without tool specifics, the principle is that you want to minimize the number of credentials that remain valid indefinitely, especially for privileged access. This ties back to detection because if an attacker steals a long-lived credential, they can use it quietly at a later time when nobody is watching. Shorter-lived, tightly scoped access reduces that window and forces revalidation of identity more often. For beginners, this is another way to see durability as the enemy. Long-lived admin access mechanisms are exactly what attackers want. When you bring all these ideas together, hardening remote administrative access is about keeping operations moving while shrinking the opportunities for attackers to gain privilege through exposed, always-on pathways. You reduce durable attack surfaces by narrowing reachability, ideally keeping administrative interfaces off the public internet when they do not need to be there. You make access conditional and centralized through controlled gateways, rather than scattered across ad hoc direct connections. You separate administrative identities from daily identities to reduce phishing-driven privilege escalation and to make behavior patterns clearer. You standardize admin paths so monitoring is effective and exceptions are visible, and you apply strong logging discipline to privileged actions because those actions shape the security posture of everything else. You plan for emergencies with controlled, auditable methods so urgency does not create permanent vulnerabilities. The result is an administrative access design that is defensible, predictable, and resilient, which is exactly what you want in cloud environments where change is constant and attackers are persistent.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.